to the class of 2024. I want to be the first to congratulate you on your accomplishment. You have finished one of the most difficult, unprecedented, tragic years that we've experienced as a community. You have finished your eighth grade year in a way that no class ever has before, not just at CHCA, uh, but really in America. Because of this pandemic, we've all had to do something very different. And I remember that day before spring break began, as you were cleaning out your lockers, I was walking down the hallway and I heard two of you say to each other, "What if this is the last time we have school in this building?" And I remember thinking to myself, that's ridiculous. But we had no way of knowing, and here we are. But what I want to talk to you for just a little bit today is about how this is still an important part in the becoming for each and every one of you of who you're made to be. So first, we're here today to celebrate what we call passages. We used to be an elementary school, middle school, and high school, and we saw eighth grade as a graduation, a completion. But when we became an upper school 5 years ago, this was really just a transition from building to building because you were still part of a 7 to 12 upper school. So today is a passages celebration because you are passing from the Founders Campus to the MSL campus up the road. But it's interesting because we're always marking in lives the transitions from one thing to the next. And this, for all of you, is a significant transition. Some of you have been in this building for a very long time, and you're moving to something different. You'll see different people. You'll be in different spaces. And you will think of this as a break from one thing and a move to the next. And it's important that we mark those times, that we think about them and what they mean for us. And these past years, you have been doing more than just taking classes, more than just learning things, more than just filling your heads with key facts, statistics, figures, bits of knowledge. You've been becoming. You've been becoming the people that you were made to be. You see, sometimes we think of school in all the wrong ways. We think of you as empty vessels that just need more information and knowledge poured into you, and we call that an education. And then when you check enough boxes, we say you're fit to graduate, and we send you out to go to college where they'll fill you up with more information, and then you move on and you can get a job. I don't like to think about life that way, and I definitely don't want to think about education that way. Because the bottom line of education is, how are you forming, shaping, and becoming the people that God made you to be? And so I want you to just think for a little bit about the time you've spent here. And particularly as we think about upper school, I want you to think about these last 2 years. I want you to think about the teachers you've had. I want you to think about the classmates you spent time with. I want you to think about the experiences you've had from intercessions and Washington, D.C. trips and field trips and games and concerts. I want you to think about the chapels you've been in. I want you to think about the memories that come to the forefront of your mind. Because I'm going to let you in on a secret now. It's a secret as adults we should know. And sometimes as students, you pick up on these things. The thing that makes this time matter so much for you is not about what you get on a transcript, about what grades you ultimately get, about what courses you all take, but it's about the people you become in this process. here's the thing. You are not the same people you were when you first arrived in this building. You're not the same people you were when you started the upper school 2 years ago. Because the teachers who have poured into you, the things you've learned about the world, the things you've learned about yourselves, the things you've experienced, those things are shaping you and molding you into different kinds of people. That's why your teachers here at CHCA are so important, because they have decided they would give their entire lives toward you becoming who God made you to be. If we were having a typical year and a ceremony over in the gym right now, I would have all your teachers stand up and for you to give them a round of applause, because they are the people who have invested so much into you growing these past years. I would have you take a look at your parents and say, you know what, all the things that they've been doing and telling and setting rules and sometimes punishing and encouraging and lifting you up when you feel down, they're helping you to learn to deal with life and how you are growing and how you are becoming. Your classmates, your friends, the times that you all spend together, sometimes doing official school stuff like studying or being in class together, other times just the goofy times you spend together, the bonds you are forming in those friendships that feel so powerful and meaningful. Those things are shaping you into the person that you're becoming. This has been a powerful 2 years for some of you. Some of you don't realize how powerful these years have been because you've kind of cruised through and everything's gone really well. And then we hit this year. We had to change the way we did school. For some of you, school was always the easiest thing for you, and now it feels difficult. And that frustrates you. For some of you, school sometimes seems difficult, and you hit this period and you thought, just wait, I'm actually better at school than I thought I was. I'm doing better in this environment. Then we had the great tragedy of losing our beloved Ms. Elin. And that was hard and it was painful. And we're still mourning that loss. And we look at that and we say, why did that have to happen now? All of these things we've been experiencing that in some ways we look at and we say, these took away from what we thought our 8th grade year should be. I want you to think about differently. It's in hard things. It's in struggle. Often it's in tragedy that we are forced to dig deep into ourselves and to turn toward God, our Creator, towards Jesus, our Savior. And it's in those moments of us seeing who we are and what we're about and realizing our need and dependence upon the Lord and upon each other that we are formed into the people who will be able to overcome anything we come up against in life. This year, to many of us, feels like this was not fair for the way the year was supposed to go. I agree with that. But I'm here to tell you that you will find moments, sometimes years, stretches of time in life where we are forced to deal with things that seem terrible and unfair. But we realize that in our becoming, God has been making us into people who can withstand, who can overcome, who can rise above to bring God's love and peace, his shalom, his wholeness to every situation. So when we think about this year, that is what has been happening in each and every one of us. And we realize those kinds of things we wrestle with in Christian studies about how we think about God and how we understand it is not just a mental exercise, but it's something in times of crisis we have to depend on. When we study history, when we study science, we look at the things going on in our world right now and we realize history matters. Science matters. Figuring out what's happened historically in times of pandemic or crisis. Thinking about the science about how do we create vaccines for viruses? How do we deal with pandemics? Those things matter. Things like music and art, playing of our instruments and finding this joy and meaning and expression in community, it matters. As we think about the world languages we study and how in times of crisis, how communication is so important. This year gives us a picture of why doing all this matters. Here's the thing. As you move up the street to the MSL campus, I want you to go up there boldly. I want you to step into that space, not thinking like we're the youngest ones, we have to just kind of stand back and wait our turn. What you've experienced this year, the people you are becoming from what you've experienced this year, you are ready to lead. You're ready to shine. You're ready to start SOS groups to serve the world. You're ready to join teams and clubs. You're ready to problem solve. Because you all have been forced to grow in ways this year that no 8th grade class ever has. I want to congratulate you all. And I'm going to tell you something of the utmost importance. And it's why I and Mrs. Metzger and all your teachers are at this place and are a part of this CHC community. We believe with all our hearts that God has created each and every one of you. And he's created you uniquely with gifts and talents and abilities that have a significant, powerful place in this world. You have been created to have impact on your community, on your friends and families, on the world at large. And that's by becoming the person that God uniquely created and designed. And so while we went through hard things this year, it was part of that process. Part of that process of making us the people who will change the world. So congratulations. We love you all. We look forward to seeing the people you continue to become, because God has great plans for this place. But more significantly right now, he has great plans for each and every one of you. So pass on to the MSL campus. Continue to do great things.